Let's talk about the food on your plate. We're going to pull back the curtain on a system so massive, so complex, you might not even realize it's there. We're going way beyond the grocery store aisle, way beyond the farm, to understand how it all really works. So, let's dive right in.
You know, when most of us hear the word agriculture, a certain image pops into our heads, right? A tractor in a field, maybe a classic red barn. But what if I told you that's just one tiny piece of a gigantic puzzle? That one single farm, it's really the epicenter of a sprawling global industry.
And that giant system has a name: agribusiness. The term itself is pretty simple, right? It was put together back in 1957, literally just smashing agriculture and business together. But that combination is everything. It's a total shift in thinking. It's not just farming as a way of life, it's farming as a massive economic engine.
So what does agribusiness actually cover? Well, pretty much everything. It's the entire journey. It starts way before the farm, with the companies making seeds and tools. It moves through the farm itself, and then it keeps going, all the way to the trucks, the factories, and the stores that finally get that food to you.
To really get our heads around this, let's build a quick model of the whole system. And we're going to start with the part we all know and recognize: the farm itself.
Okay, so this is the beating heart of the whole operation, the farm sector. This is where the raw stuff gets made. And we're talking about everything, from apples and wheat to cotton for your clothes and feed for livestock. This is the production hub. But here's the thing, a farm can't just exist on its own.
And that brings us to the first big piece of the puzzle. See, before a farmer can even think about planting a seed, they need supplies, a lot of supplies. And that's where something called the input sector comes into play.
This is what economists call a backward linkage. Basically, it's all the stuff that has to flow to the farm before production can even start. This is the foundation that makes modern, large-scale agriculture even possible. Without this input sector, our farm sector would look completely different.
So what are we talking about here exactly? Well, think about the companies that design and sell high-tech seeds and specialized animal feed, or the huge chemical companies that produce fertilizers and pesticides, the factories building all the tractors, the combines, the machinery, and yeah, even the banks and lenders who provide the credit to buy all of it. It's a gigantic industry all by itself.
Okay, so we have inputs flowing to the farm, and the farm is producing all these raw goods. What happens next? Where does it all go? That leads us to the final, massive part of our model, the product sector.
And boom, there's the whole picture. This last piece is the forward linkage. It's every single step that takes a raw product from the farm gate and turns it into the stuff you buy at the store. This is all about transformation and delivery.
And this sector is incredibly diverse. You've got the giant green silos for storage, you've got the factories that process and package everything, the entire web of trucks, trains, and ships that move it all around. You have marketing teams building brands, you have wholesalers, grocery stores, and you even have insurance and finance companies managing risk every step of the way. It's huge.
So now that we see this whole three-part system, you might be thinking, okay, so it's basically like any other big supply chain, right? But nope, not at all. Agribusiness faces a set of challenges that are completely unique, making it one of the absolute riskiest businesses out there.
The biggest difference really comes down to one word: control. A car factory is a controlled mechanical environment. Agribusiness, on the other hand, is based on biology. It's totally at the mercy of weather, pests, and disease. Production is seasonal. You can't just grow strawberries in the snow. And instead of one big factory, you have production scattered across thousands of different farms. You can't just turn up a dial and make more corn.
And the products themselves are totally different too. For one, they're often perishable, which means they have a ticking clock. They're bulky, which makes them expensive to ship and handle. And, one bushel of wheat looks a lot like another, which makes it really hard to build a unique brand. But the most important thing? They are an absolute necessity for life.
So it all boils down to this simple fact. When you combine unpredictable weather, wild swings in market prices, pests, and just the fundamental nature of biology, you get a business that is way, way riskier than most other industries.
Now, let's circle back to that idea of food being a necessity, because that one fact creates a really weird economic situation that shapes the entire industry.
And that weird situation is called inelastic demand. Just think about it this way. If the price of a new TV doubles, you're probably going to wait to buy one, right? But if the price of bread doubles, well, you still got to eat. We don't really buy a lot more food when prices are cheap, and we don't buy a lot less when they're expensive. And that stable demand, when paired with a really unstable supply from the farms, creates massive price volatility for the producers.
Okay, so we have this enormous, complex, and super risky system. So what? Why is it so important to understand all of this? Well, because its impact on our world is just immense.
I mean, agribusiness is truly a cornerstone of our entire society. It creates millions and millions of jobs, and not just on the farm. We're talking jobs in laboratories, in factories, in logistics, and marketing. It's a huge driver of economic growth and global trade. And most importantly, it's what ensures we have a steady, secure supply of the food we all need to survive.
And this economic power shows up in a few key ways. It's not just a contributor to the national economy, it's actively adding value at every stage, turning a raw commodity into a finished product. And, like we said, it's a job creation machine, from the companies making the inputs all the way to the person stocking the shelf at your local store.
So we're left with this picture, right? A system that is absolutely vital for our survival, but at the same time is uniquely vulnerable to all sorts of risks. It really leaves us with a big question. As our world keeps changing, with challenges like a growing population and climate change, how is this incredibly complex business of food going to adapt to feed all of us in the future?